Hello and welcome back to Best of Three, which is unfortunately been reduced to Best of Two. I am RNG, joined by rekenner, and unfortunately, our usual host, Counter Bob, is no longer with us. He has left RNGEternal to form Team Leyline, so good luck to him there. But for the moment, we are down to two.
Yep, all our best wishes to Gunner Bob. He's going to be putting out team content for Team Leyline. Y'all should check it out. I'm not 100% sure if they've gotten anything up yet, but he says he plans on continuing doing deck techs with his teammates, and that his teammates are hopefully going to be a name to reckon with in the ETS and Team League. So real quick, we have our topics for today, which are the League, which did actually open basically as we were going live. We're going to be talking about the Season 2, Week 1 ETS Weekly Open. We're going to be hitting real quick the archetypes that were popular, their win rates, a handful of the popular decks, the decks that made the top 8, talk about the meta trends, and we'll be doing a quick look at the SP leaderboard after the first week of Season 2, a look ahead at All-Stars, which will be coming up after Season 2 Invitational. And finally, we'll be having an interview with the Clam Burglar, starting at around about 9 o'clock.
So it is unfortunately April 2nd. We missed our real opportunity to do a true April Fool's stream, but this is a little bit more lighthearted. The season's not back in full swing yet, just the first week starting up there, so a little bit of a lighter touch for this one.
Also, a quick shout out to Angry Chicken, who just subscribed to the channel and who is hopefully coming back to playing in ETS. I look forward to him hopefully reviving Combre, or at the very least showing off his skills from last year. Hopefully he's maintained his skills.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to have him back. He had such a stranglehold over the Player of the Year position right up until the very last week of Worlds, where he just barely failed to make Worlds top 8, and then Unearthly booted him out by coming second and crushing everybody in points. But it's good to have him back, and we'll look forward to seeing what he can do in Season 2. Season 3 is, I'm sure, the one that he's really gaming for, but this is about the time that the Chicken really went on a tear last year, so it'll be good to see if he can do it again.
Direwolf just needs to release release some Combre buffs, still take advantage of them, and top 8 3 tournaments in a row again.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move right into leagues. Rek, you want to give us a little bit of rundown on how to play the new sealed leagues that have come out?
Of course. So as this is a big set, small set format, you'll be getting 2 packs of Rivals of Ixalan and 1 pack of Ixalan. It's 4 packs of Rivals of Ixalan and 2 packs of Ixalan. And you'll be building a 40-card deck out of the contents of your... Wait a second, that's not quite right. So the actual contents of your packs will be 2 set 3 packs, 2 set 1 packs, 2 set 2 packs, and 4 set 3 packs. It'll be a standard draft-esque environment. You'll be making a 45-card deck of Eternal cards that will be Eternal legal. RNG, you and I both have some sealed experience. I hear your best experiences at a GP for Magic have actually been sealed GPs. Do you have any advice for people on how to build a sealed deck real quick?
Okay, so this trick to building a sealed deck is to open lots of very powerful cards that your opponent cannot deal with, have them all be in the same colors, then put together a deck that's in those colors, draw those bombs early, often, and defeat your opponents easily. I've unfortunately generally stumbled at around stage 1, and never quite had the backup plan to make it back into that.
Pro tip, open a Scarab God.
Yeah. Although that might be difficult to do with just the Eternal packs that we have now, but there's always hope for the future.
Yeah. But no, for some actual serious advice, neither of us are limited experts. I'm a bit more of a limited fan than I think RNG is, but generally speaking, sealed is a slower format than draft. You can't reliably make an aggro deck that will kill your opponents before they can play, 4 or 5 drops and stabilize. You're not going to reliably hit, your early curve often enough. In a draft environment, you can focus on getting 1 and 2 drops, where the 1 drops are good. Get a lot of tricks, and you can play really aggressive. Where, yes, you can get a good aggro seal deck. I've played them, I've seen them played, and sometimes they can just tear people up because, yeah, it is a slow format. But you really have to be kind of getting a well above average aggro deck to pull it off. If this was maybe a bit more of a set 1 focus sealed environment, maybe it could be done. But I feel like with the majority of the pack being set 3, we're going to see more slower, more mid-range decks. Well, Justice has been nerfed. It still has some of the better removal, and it still does have good flyers. And flyers also tend to be slightly higher value in Seal, just because you get into a big board stall, and whoever has flyers that can, punch through in the air will usually pull ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sealed is similar to draft in a lot of ways, but generally ends up being a lot less focused. You have less synergies since you can't draft cards that go well together, so it's more difficult for those aggro decks to find the tricks that they need and to go off with them. So generally everybody's going to have enough time to bring their bombs into play, and that's where you got to look for long game value cards that you wouldn't necessarily want in a draft deck, but just something that's going to give you something to do when the game goes long and pull ahead. Sometimes cards like what's that card called? Cloud of Ash. There we go. Something like that. If it's not really a draft card that you want, but it could come in seal, just so that you have some kind of way to break a board stall and push through. But that's probably enough of us talking about this league stuff that we don't really know. Let's hop into the ETS. We had an ETS this weekend, our first one of season 3, season 2, and it fell on Easter, which meant that it was not quite as well attended as some others, but we have some interesting numbers nonetheless.
Indeed. So we are seeing. We're seeing, AP midrange was the most popular deck. That's not too surprising, given that it put 3 people into the top 8 of the Invitational 2 weekends ago.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little bit of a little bit of variation, some evolution of how the decks are actually built. Some switching up of numbers of how many Traders Blades, how many Crown Watch how many Inquisitors Blades, sorry, how many Crown Watch Traders. Tweaks here and there, but they were mostly the new set 3 style of Argenport midrange. And it did quite well. The idea that In Cold Blood might push it out of the meta is... In Cold Blood is kind of lacking a shell. We see one popular idea of a shell for it, Felon Control, sitting down at a kind of abysmal 29% win rate.
Yeah,
whereas AP was sitting at 59%.
Yeah, the only problem with playing the Felon Control shell around In Cold Blood is you need to play Felon Control, which is never quite where you want to be. Like you said, with a 29% win rate, it's surpassed by such incredible hits as Elysian Midrange at 33% and Xenon Midrange at 39%. The non AP decks did not do so well this weekend for midrange. Praxis, the counterpart to AP midrange at the Invitational, still only a 44% win rate. So a lot of decks were pretty unsuccessful this weekend.
Yeah, generally speaking, AP midrange is usually very good against time midrange. We see a real quick tally. Xena midrange at 6, Praxis at 4, Elysian at 3. While no individual time midrange deck was the leader of the pack, and FTP Moment kind of similar in idea, although it goes way over the top of most midrange decks. Time midrange was kind of the biggest blob of decks, where all 3 of them kind of have a similar game plan texture. Elysian's a little bit better in a board stall because of Cerso and Crystallize. Praxis has a lot more reach. Xenon is a bit more tricksy, but all of them kind of rely on fat bodies. And Argenport says, well, see, I've got all of these removal spells that are more tempo efficient, or I just fly over your units with a Paladin that's been given a Inquisitor's Blade, or I just play Tavern and you don't have a direct answer to that card.
Because you're in time. Your mistake. Yeah.
Yeah, with the exception, of course, of Elysian having decks having Equivocate, but even then, that's not the cleanest answer.
They still get a 5-drop.
Yes. Provided you're not either pulling ahead in some other fashion, like FTP Moment pulls ahead by having a ton of card draw and card selection. Elysian, in theory, is going to use Equivocate to pick up the Tavrod and then swing for like 8 or 10 damage, and Argenport deck has just lost too much tempo to win at that point. But at least in Elysian versus AP, it rarely plays out that
way. To use Overmaster's favorite quote. You touched on it a little bit beforehand, but a lot of the reason that many of these decks didn't do so well was because of the new FTP Moment decks that have been picking up a lot of popularity. Yes. 10% out of the field is quite a lot for any deck, especially one that isn't Argenport. The decks did okay, 53% win rate is good for these numbers anyways. And the deck is pretty good against the other time decks. Yeah. There's not so many board stall breakers, and like you said, FTP Moment quite good at gumming up the board, and then it plays to 11 Sentinels, and then okay, you can equivocate them, but as we saw in the famous Loa clip, you just equivocate into Novaquake Titan, and then bounce the board.
There's some tricksy lines you can pull with equivocating your own FTP Moments or your own Moment of Creation Sentinels.
On 16, yeah.
Yeah, 16 and 10 is also another key point. There's the 50-50 of if you get Scourge of Frostholm or a Draft Chaff 6-6, I can't remember.
So they got rid of the Herald, right? The one that cost 10 and went down by 2 for each flying unit you had? Is that still a card?
That was removed in closed beta.
That was removed in the closed beta, and then it came back, Skycrowed Wyverts or something, as like a 3/3 killer flyer?
Right, yeah, that's the card you're thinking of, yes.
Okay. I'm getting old.
Aren't we all? All right, we'll talk about FTP Moment a little bit more in depth later. We also see another deck we're going to be talking about a little bit more later, which is Scream. This is the aggregate of all of the Scream archetypes, but they had a whopping 67% win rate, putting one person into the top 8, and I believe 2 more into the 4 and 2 bracket. That deck is extremely good against time mid-range. It's running, generally speaking, Madness, Combust, Devour, and if you've ever played a Sandstorm Titan into a Sandstorm Titan against a deck with Haunting Scream, thinking, all right, I'm safe. They're not going to Haunting Scream anything, and then they just Madness, Devour, and kill them both.
Yeah.
You just kind of concede on the spot.
It's very good into unit-based mid-range decks, and today we saw, or on Saturday we saw, a lot of unit-based mid-range decks. Yeah. Interestingly enough, FJS Removal Pile, which is theoretically favored against all these mid-range decks, had a 0% win rate on the day.
To be fair, that was 0 and 5. It was an 0-3 drop and an 0-2 drop, if I remember correctly. So not the greatest of sample size. Kamado himself went 0-2 drop. We saw his first round match against Scream, actually, on stream. And unfortunately for Kamado, his deck really only has one fast spell that can get rid of a Scream target, which is Torch.
So the matchups didn't line up, and the deck fell down. But the lone control deck that did do well today actually ended up taking the whole thing, as we transition over now to the winner's deck.
Yes.
Tin Man's set 2 Chalice, essentially.
Well, set 2 plus crests.
Yeah, crests and 2 strategizes in the main, and the sideboard is a little bit different, but these are all those cards that we saw before.
Yes. I will say I'm very slightly surprised that he has Backlash instead of Unseal in his sideboard. That seems a little awkward, given the potential of hitting Gift with Unseal as opposed to the 2 damage from Backlash, but
it breaks Aegis, and Chalice does not have a lot of other ways to break Aegis, and I mean, there's a fair amount of confidence that there's no big Xenon deck in the field, or playable Felon control deck. So if you're winning with Chalice, you're never going to run into Felon, so Gift doesn't really come into the equation.
Yeah, the only hedge is what I was going to point out. The fact that in, say, the mirror, if your opponent has a face Aegis, they channel you, you backlash.
Hmm.
Suddenly now the way is open for your channel to Tempest in return.
Given the frequency or the of face ages nowadays with the new amethyst waystone or cobalt waystone, sorry,
So, yeah,
um, it makes a lot more sense nowadays. The damage is useful for that, as getting your channel blocked is kind of bad.
exactly.
You need that damage.
Yeah, especially in matchups where you board stall, it can be very hard to get in the chip damage you need. So um, actually managing to hit face with channel is important.
So
Um,
we're not going to go too into depth into Chalice, especially since this is a relatively old school Chalice deck. It's
yeah,
interesting that none of the more recent Set 3 editions are present here. I know Shelter Wing Rider was starting to pop up in Chalice lists every now and then,
Reliquary
and
Raider as well after the change to the card.
Reliquary Raider. People have generally agreed that Chalice was not the place for it, and neither was Praxis,
Yeah.
which is why we'll talk about it later in a different place that it doesn't belong. um,
Yeah, the one surprise I thought there was no archive curator, but that was probably just a meta call in terms of what Tin
mhm.
Man thought we would see. I always thought that card was a very good. It's like a fifth or sixth silence, but it can be very hard to fit into a deck like this where all of your units are spells. They draw a card, they draw a sigil, they um, you know pop out an owl token later, they silence, they heal you, etc., etc.
So
So what? Sorry, go on.
I'd call this a more, like tight focused aggressive Chalice list. And I know aggressive sounds weird, but this is definitely a list that's heavily on the channel plan. It's got the wisdoms and the strategizes to supplement its units, and it's, playing the full four channels. There's no parliaments, there's no other backup. That's its primary way to win. And this list here is very, even if there's a board, it doesn't really care about stalling out the board. It's just going to go channel face, channel face. So
Yeah.
it's less about grinding out in the late game and more about stabilizing to 8 and then chaining channels.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where a bunch of the fluff cards can be pulled out because you don't really care if your opponent has a board. It's also playing a lot more vanquishes than you usually see. 3 vanquish, 3 islands choice, way bigger on the mid range 8, which ended up
Exactly.
working out very well with the field that came this weekend. But
Yeah.
so
I've been playing a little bit of his deck on ladder, and it feels good. It feels like Chalice. I was playing set one Chalice a couple weeks ago to get ready for the um, Arliss King Cup, um, and right now Chalice doesn't feel too bad on ladder, which a lot of you out there are saying no, don't let it come back. But if you're seeing a lot of praxis, if you're seeing a lot of Argent mid range, if you're seeing a lot of even FTP moments. I wouldn't call it the best matchup if you're going into FTP moment, but it's definitely a deck that can go into the late game against it. Whereas if you're playing like Praxis itself or Argent mid range, you have a very short window to actually kill the FTP moment player before they just go way over the top of you. And whereas Chalice, I think, is maybe slightly favored to the FTP moment deck. Small sample size, in my opinion, on ladder. But it's definitely a deck that can go kind of toe to toe with it. Of course, Chalice, if you're seeing a lot of aggro, sure, it has a lot of road bump units, but aggro is generally being taken care of in other ways by other forces on the left.
and of course aggro nearly absent entirely from tournament play, thanks
Yes.
in part to Hailstorm and in part to it's just not that exciting to ram into mid range deck after mid range deck that
Yeah.
just stops you and beats you down over top of you. But this was the eventual winner, and as you can see from the highly serious image on there,
Yes.
it chopped down a lot of Argenport decks along the way. So we'll take a look at another one of the decks that was pretty successful and a bit of an unknown quantity. This one, a new take on a existing Overmaster archetype. So we have here FPS Scream, except this time we're really yelling. We've got Champion of Fury to start us off with some Chargers, followed up with Bandit Queens and Vicious Highwayman like it's Stone Scar.
Yep.
Kill our units, we don't care, we'll just scream them back. There's no Rindra, which is has been a cornerstone of these kinds of decks for a long time. There's no Direwood something. Beast Caller. Okay. To make some 5/5s. No, we're just punching face over and over. And
yeah, this is a very aggressive take on the deck.
Yeah, this is my Dark Returns give flying, is what Haunting Scream says, since everything already has charge, with the exception of Gorgon Fanatic, of course, considered too good to play, at least in this deck. But you've got the Madness package, you've got the Combust package, you've got the Grenadin's drones there as enablers, so pretty strong against the mid-range field that we have there, and against the control decks, able to blow past them with its charge units. Screaming Queen is the name of the deck. I don't know how good Queen itself necessarily is. You do have a bunch of tokens with the assembly line and the drones, so it's good as a ground threat. But actually screaming it back, it's probably not as exciting as some of the other targets.
We saw a few matches on stream where the deck did successfully manage to, once their opponent had kind of stabilized, swing around their units by doing
recurring
like
Queen value.
Well, no, dark returning Grenadin drones, or screaming even Grenadin drones just for the token. You get in one chip damage. If your opponent's at 3 or 4, you get in 1 chip damage. You get a token, and maybe next turn you scream a Queen, and you can get around their big units.
Yeah,
and that was kind of the way the deck can get past even late game decks. It can it's not favored in the late game versus dedicated late game decks, but it still is it's not out of contention on turn 15.
Mm-hmm. I'm told from the chat that Haunted Highway is the name, which yeah,
we reserve all rights to change deck names at RNGEternal.
Yeah. Once you submit the list, the deck name field is just there to let you know what you said. Is
some quick history for this list. As we said, this is an Overmaster special. Overmaster's been famously known for his Scream lists, for his Reanimator lists, basically for his Graveyard Shenanigan lists. Some of you might remember way back before Copper Conduit was nerfed, he was famous for playing 3-faction, 4-faction killers with Copper Conduit recursion and other crazy silly things like that.
He had his Infinite Memes combo with the Infernal Tyrants and Vara on stream.
Yeah.
So that was a fun one. Crashed the client a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if there's a way to bring something out of the void, Overmaster will find it. And here he paired it with a bunch of beatdown cards. So
sorry, go ahead.
We had the long debate in the FJP aggro decks about whether Kothon or Champion of Fury was the better aggro card to play. Here, it's pretty decisively Champion of Fury, as you are not Injustice. But damn, I missed an opportunity to say because there is no justice in the world. All right, cut. Roll it back.
But this list originally actually ran Topple Tower to take advantage of the 8 cards that generate multiple Grenadins and the 4 Granite Waystone. But
that sounds way better. Why is it not still running Topple Tower?
Well, while Topple Tower was kind of, I guess, the maybe motivation for the list in some way, Overmaster found that once he took the Topple Towers out, the deck was better.
The deck was better, you mean?
Yes.
What if we took out all of the Queen pieces and just played more Grenadins and just played Grenadin Scream and the whole and like scrap the deck was put in the scrapyard, or what is it? What's that? Is it scrapyard?
Yes, scrap heap.
Scrap heap. Okay, put in scrap heaps. Just get in there. Just 3-drop Grenadins. You've got the Grenadin that kills itself to make your other Grenadins bigger. That's basically Bandit Queen, right?
Yeah. Put in Quarry. That way you can get a 4-cost scrap tank, and then you can scream a scrap tank.
Nobody's ever done that before. I hope X-Kirby's not watching.
Anyway. Let's talk about our
that's for next week. Look to see Topple Tower Screaming Towers next week.
But our next list is another new take on an old deck. You might remember this as the early Season 2 SPG special, Dark Heart.
Yes.
What's better than 4 Heart of the Vault? And the answer is, well, it used to be 8, But now it's down to only just 5 in terms of how many Dark Return does the deck have.
We have detected that you need to actually play cards other than Heart of the Vault to win the game, and responded accordingly. Here is our other deck that you've got a big question mark on that Reliquary Radar in Praxis. It was Praxis with Reliquary Raider top 4 the Invitational, and it was generally agreed, including by the pilot, that Reliquary Raider had no business being there. Here, it it draws some extra cards. There's a lot of card filtering in the deck for a Praxis list. You got the Temple Scribes and things. Second Blue, of course, is the designer of this deck. Ended up playing Grenadins instead because Second Blue always builds cool decks and then goes and plays Grenadins anyways. Was taken up by Child Roland, who then defeated Second Blue in the Swiss and made top 8 instead. Hence our pretty little image there made by Child Roland himself. Managed to go all the way to second to the finals before getting absolutely smashed by Chalice. No Dawnwalkers, or no mainboard Dawnwalkers anyways, so first 2 games were going to be rough.
Even with Dawnwalkers, while the Tin Man's Chalice only had 4 silences, you have just such a short window to beat down a Chalice deck if you're a mid-range deck. If you're an aggro deck, you can usually hit that window. If you're a mid-range deck, well, there's a reason that Chalice was kind of considered the time mid-range killer. But wait, they say. This list has Banish. It's not enough.
No, Banish doesn't solve... It solves the card flow problem, sort of, except they've usually already drawn a card out of it, and then you're just sort of trading 1 for 1, and Chalice has so many other ways to gain card advantage. You're not going to beat a harsh rule even with Heart of the Vaults. So, I mean, sometimes it doesn't play out like that, but usually you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, we've seen Dark Heart beat Chalice. We've seen Praxis and Xenon beat Chalice using those methods. They're just not a favored matchup. They do have some tools. It's just if you're choosing what seat to play in between Chalice and a time mid-range deck, you should always choose Chalice if you want to win.
So this deck is pretty good at going over top of the other time mid-range decks that we saw. Statuary Maiden gives you cudgels to make your dudes bigger. You've got In Cold Blood to just really give it to Argenport. Here's a shell for it. Even if IN with the ultimate goes late, and then if anybody's trying their own shenanigans, you've got the aforementioned Statuary Maiden and Purify to stop those revenge combos from going out, and which makes this deck kind of the last bastion of silences in a way. Now that Desert Marshal, except for in the Chalice decks, is mostly on the way out. And World Bearer, Behemoth, Big Beater, Heart of the Vault, Predatory Carnosaur. So pretty good at doing the mid-range playing against other mid-range decks, and still having some cards against both aggro and control. But this is definitely a mid-range deck aimed at beating other mid-range decks, going over the top.
Yeah. I played this deck a little bit on ladder today, and it certainly probably needs a little bit of refinement. The mana base feels a little clunky. It feels a little greedy at 29 power. I played the list exactly stock. I didn't take out any of the. Actually, that's not true. I did add 1 find though, but I didn't take out the Reliquary Raider. I wanted to see how that felt. I did have 1 game where it swung like 3 times and probably won me the game, but I had a lot of other games where it was a 3-cost Torch Soak.
That keeps the torches away from your Sandstorm type. Oh, wait, nothing else in the deck dies to Torch, except for Temple Scribes. So.
Blistersting Wasp. But again, it's not. Neither of them are drawing torches away from like higher value targets. Is a good point.
Maybe this is the place for Lunar Magus on ladder.
That was actually a thought I had in terms of maybe a way to replace either Blistersting Wasp or Praxis or a Reliquary Raider.
Yeah, I mean, it is a 3/4 for 3, and we've seen those do some work. Seraph, Hoot Hoot, being the 2 that come to mind. So maybe that's what we'll see in the coming weeks. But something we saw a lot of in the previous weeks, and moving on now, is the FTP Moment deck, the other, tall mid-range deck aimed at going over top of the other mid-range decks.
Honestly, I would call this a control deck more than a mid-range deck, but it's definitely kind of straddling the line. Running 8 cantrip effects for Wisdom of the Elders. When your curve kind of starts at 4 begrudgingly, you definitely
Sandstorm
feel like
Titan too good not to play.
Yeah. It's still really good at taking care of flyers.
This is the ace version of the decks, right?
Yes, this is specifically Ace's tournament list. The
You can tell
differences
because of
between
the M&Ms.
well, Batteries himself has come around to the thought of Malat and Mikova being worth the main deck. A lot of players played this deck. I believe 4 of them took 4 and 2 in the tournament. Ace and Batteries have kind of been the driving force behind innovating it. Batteries, of course, has been known for playing FTP, Moment, Curiox, Piles since basically Curiox came out, since week 1 of season 1, I believe.
Yeah. So the whole season he's been pushing this archetype. He has come around to the fact that Curiox is, despite all the text on it, a 5/5 flyer for 6, and that just does not make the cut in constructed. So
No.
Curiox has had his aha moment, or sorry, Batteries has had his aha moment, but he's also supplied us with a cool heart emote. So
yes,
that's 2 pluses there.
Spam your RNGE hearts in chat, please.
Oh, there's one.
Yeah, second we got her back. But this is another list I've been playing a lot on ladder, and I think it's really fun. It's probably the funnest list I've played in a long time.
The last bastion of fun for rekenner. He will not survive the moment nerf.
But generally speaking, my experience with this list on ladder versus fair mid-range decks, you trade off about 15 health worth of health. You fight your way onto the board. You use some equivocates that are just kind of stalling equivocates. You either then drown them in cards by playing a bunch of hearts and Wisdom of the Elders, or they spontaneously combust when you play 2 10/10 Sentinels. Most decks really just have no way of dealing with 2 10/10 Sentinels, provided you've played out at least 1 or 2 other units to soak up some removal, and they don't have just a wide enough board to swim around. This deck is incredibly good at finding the spell density to play, 8, 9, 10 spells between Power Searchers, 8 cantrips, 4 Wisdom of the Elders, etc., etc.
Yeah. As I understand it, the Scorpion Wasp are really the big innovation in this particular build, along with coming around to the M&Ms as the top end. But Scorpion Wasp to deal with any of the Icarias or other things that you had a hard time dealing with. Tavrod does run right into Scorpion Wasp and die, and you've got equivocates to deal with any kind of weapons that are floating around, so you're not too worried about that. Plus, you got some big dudes if you can survive. So it's cool to see this. Interesting to see 3 Hailstorm, sort of as a nod to the fact that someone should have some early game, even nowadays. But more of a hedge than anything else, given the field, I imagine.
Yeah, it's not a card you want to see against mid-range or control or decks like Scream, even though they do have a lot of tokens. But you don't need more than maybe like 1 against a deck like Scream. And sometimes you can piece 2 of them together and you can kill some X4s, X5s, X6s, but generally speaking, if you're against time, you just see 1 and you put it on the bottom with a crest or a trailblaze.
Yeah, it is cool that you can deal 6 damage, but the problem is with the moment deck, you kind of want to have your own board, and that kills all your Heart of the Vaults, so sort of a trade-off there. Cool to see set 3 card that we talked a little bit about before, but the Venom, or I can't read that card. The Deadly Charge dude from okay. Yeah, starting to make a little bit of a showing in sideboards as a it's our first Killer Deadly unit. Technically, it makes our first Killer Deadly unit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a Deadly Charge unit at base, and then you have to pay extra to get a Deadly Killer token.
He hops off, but he's also still deadly, which is interesting. Yes. I wonder if thematically he should lose deadly when he gets off the Sandcrawler.
Well, I think isn't the thing that charges the Sandcrawler itself? I thought that's what the token was.
The token is Deadly Killer.
Right. But in terms of what the unit token is, I think it's the thing that's being written, not the.
Oh, okay.
We're getting into Pojo territory here, so how about we go on to our next slide, which is a quick check-in on the Series Point leaderboard.
I'm very bad at names, but very good at these names. You know, all
Yes.
these players here. Child Roland just missed picking up his second weekly win of 2018, and has now officially made more points in 2018 season so far than he did all last season, despite being a Worlds player. So he's having a hell of a season for himself because he did
Yeah.
not have a bad season last time. You know, season 4 Invitational champion and all. He hops up to our second highest points overall, and Tin Man with his weekly win pops up to 10 points, and he has joined the double digits category.
Yeah, this list is very similar to the list prior to the event. There's a little bit of jockeying of position, and then Tin Man joins the tie for the bottom place of being worth showing on stream.
Yeah, the bottom of the top 8, so to speak, since this is basically top 8 players plus ties. The
Exactly.
Invitational put out all the league points, but where this really comes into play, and players are starting to feel now, is the SP point race for All Stars. After the Season 2 Invitational, which, all the invites and stuff are based on IP, we put out invites based on SP for All Stars, and that's going to be a super cool event that we are running, just for fun. But it's going to be a hell of a showcase tournament, so a lot of people are looking forward to that. And we're going to transition over the slide now.
So in the Riot tradition, are we going to have Worlds take place in the winner of All Stars house?
I think that the winner is personally going to fly everyone down there, and the loser is going to host it. So the winner pays travel, the loser hosts. Or
Ah.
sorry, other way around. The loser pays the travel, and the winner hosts the event. So everybody comes to the winner's house to hang out, but the loser has to pay for it.
I guess it depends on if you think the crowd of 16 rowdy card players and the RNGEternal staff will cause more damage to the person's house than airfare.
I can personally guarantee that I myself am fairly rowdy and might be worth paying the airfare for.
But so we currently have 4 players locked in for All Stars, which are the 2017 World Champion, Kamado himself, the 2017 Player of the Year, Unearthly, and the 2018 Season 1 Champion, Tony G, and the 2018 Season 1 IP Leader, Second Blue. And the corollary Season 2 positions, of course, will be invited. They are not, of course, set in stone yet. The race for that is still ongoing. The 2018 Rookie of the Year, and then the 2018 Series Point winner, leader rather at that moment. So after Season 2 Invitational is where the cutoff will happen.
Yeah, so these are trickle down points. Second Blue is already locked for All Stars. He is currently our Rookie of the Year and our SP leader. So the Rookie of the Year invite will trickle down to another rookie, and the SP leader will trickle down to the second place person that does not already have an All Stars invite. But the format for that is something we've never done before, and as far as I can tell, no one has ever done before, which is a faction draft. If you add monocolor, dual color, and tricolor factions together, you end up with 25 different faction pairings. So each of these 8 players is going to, in snake draft format, draft 3 faction combinations that they are going to play with. The prediction, as shown on there, is that Model Primal will be the one holdout that is not chosen by any of the players. But as the day goes down, Unearthly's going to have to choose between playing some kind of he's between a Mono Time and Elysian, and these will be it'll be very interesting to see which ones go first and which ones go last. So should be a ton of fun. We'll be doing that live on stream. This is, of course, not for another 2 months after Season 2 is over. We need to find out the Season 2 Invitational Champion before we can run it. But
Indeed.
That's an event to keep in the back of your minds as you're battling on there.
Yeah, and so we will be going to I believe, a quick ad break, and then we will be coming back with our interview for the night, who is the Clamburger. He's been an ETS regular for a little while, and he had a particularly spicy showing in the ETS on Saturday. And so we'll be talking with him after a short break.
Hello and welcome back to Best of Three. We have reached the interview portion of our show, and we are joined by the Clam Burglar.
Hello.
Yeah, it's good to have you on the show. We did, of course, as we normally do in winners interviews, we did ask Tin Man if he would be available, but we put the show together on kind of short notice, and Mondays is not good for him. So we'll have to get him on another time. But fortunately, we've got the bane of Argenport with us here today. So before we get into that, tell us a little bit about your gaming background and when you started Eternal.
Yeah, so I come from Dota, is what I have the most experience with. I played that semi-pro for a little while, and I actually ended up injuring both of my wrists, so I was looking for a different competitive outlet. Uh, and I started playing Eternal seriously after that.
Mhm.
I've been really enjoying it. I played Magic for most of my life at this point, and when I found Eternal, it felt to me like the best take on a digital format of a card game.
Mhm.
I was really drawn to mechanics like Echo and the persisting keywords and such.
Mhm.
So that really sealed it for me. I've pretty much given up Magic at this point. I haven't bought into it in a long time. I've just been playing Eternal for my card fix.
Yeah, that's a story we've heard time and again from a lot of Eternal players. You know, looking for a Magic-esque game, and that's what this is billed as, and that's an itch that it scratches for a lot of people. So you said you were a semi-professional Dota player, right? So
Yeah.
your original debut in the Eternal Tournament series was a mighty 0 wins, 6 losses. Played the entire tournament down the stretch.
Truly in the heritage of North American Dota. Zero
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. It's I'm a little more familiar with the long tournament days, given the background, so I don't really mind sitting at my laptop for however many hours and losing game after game.
Hmm.
When I get really determined to try something, I have a hard time giving it up.
Hmm.
So trying to make Contra Culgin work is certainly my worst tournament showing so far. Well, it's the worst one that I've played through all the way. I, I did go 3 another day, but I dropped that one before it hurt too badly.
So you're able to bounce back from those less than impressive starts, which
Oh yeah, I can't complain too much when I'm going into it with the decks that I sometimes do. I have to take
mhm.
it all in stride.
Mhm.
Which brings us to this week. You know, that was back last year. You're a wily veteran now, and you've got your own take on the format with Felnscar Maulers, which please God, I hope we have a deck list for to put up on screen.
Yeah, so I like playing the mental game. It's most of the reason why I bring these weird decks a lot because I don't really want people to be familiar with the lines that I'm looking to take.
Okay,
Uh,
and I don't think anybody's too familiar with this.
No,
Take us through it. What's the plan here?
well, the big draw for it was the Iceberg Warchief buff.
Okay.
I thought that was really nice. It started off as just Skycrag, and so like a larger Yeti package that I've messed around with as well. And that's the mirror images are a bit of a holdover for that from that, though
Hmm.
they're really nice with Champion of Cunning, of course. So the Feln portion of the deck comes in because getting an Iceberg Warchief and then just a Varus Favor or an Extract is really hard for aggro decks to come back from.
Yeah.
Uh, then you get just the rest of the support suite. I wasn't going to go into an ETS without the option of in Cold Blood in the sideboard if I'm
Hmm.
just running burn base removal for the rest of it. So we have the Argenport killer listed up there. It's surprisingly good in the matchup, all things considered. It has a billion ways of dealing 3 damage, so Unseen Commandos, Valken Forcers are never sticking.
Hmm.
And then Iceberg Warchief curves perfectly into Mirror Image on the Warchief and torching a Tavrod for
Hmm.
the ultimate
Yeah.
counterplay there. Or even Extract on the Tavrod, which usually puts you out of range. The deck has secured kills on ladder with Hailstorm and Stone Scar Maul, which is another really nice addition to the Mauler package.
Yeah. Relic weapons do provide their keywords to spells, as long as they're keywords that are reasonable on spells. Stone Scarmal giving its overwhelm, so you just wipe a board of tokens and kill them. I imagine Grenadins falls to that one a lot.
Yeah, they have a pretty hard time with this. Getting a ton of rock slide value is difficult for the deck to deal with as well.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I had that in the main deck, though it gets sided out in pretty much every matchup that isn't hard aggro.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
not so much in the ETS.
yeah, it wasn't a ton of that. Dealing with Eye Blue is surprisingly effective as well for this deck. All the Vars favors and extracts means hammers never stick, and you have choice in the main for bigger weapons. And you can usually take out Daisho with just one burn spell if you can go like Cloud Snake Harrier, Torch.
With all the spell damage, makes them a lot more effective. Single Torch does the job.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I had the my one on-stream matchup last weekend was probably the most nightmarish matchup ever played in terms of how the draws were going. I think I hit in the same game. I Sabo to protect a recurring nightmare into him top decking 2 bring downs, and then I treachery after he drew 5 cards on 7 power, missing the Icaria and the Throne Warden that he would draw in the next 2 turns. So that was a lot of fun, but I did have a really good match 2 against Eye Blue, where it really showed off the strength of recurring nightmare in the sideboard and just the burn spells.
Which is a card that we haven't really seen since set 1. So good to see it coming back a little bit.
I'm a little surprised that I haven't seen it more. I think Ashara is something people should be trying out more, and recurring nightmare curves perfectly after that. You don't lose the nightmare to the Ashara trigger at the end of turn. You're just hitting for a ton of damage. That's the most I've enjoyed Feln in this format. Something really aggressive like that.
By playing Feln for as short a time as possible.
Yeah, basically. You can get really explosive starts. Somebody tries to stick a Sandstorm Titan, you just madness and hit with a Shara, you deal 12 damage. Pretty difficult to come back from. But I think that speaks more to the power of madness right now than anything else.
As seen in FPS Scream.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know if you were around. Madness used to cost 2. Good times. Unless you wanted to play a unit at any point. In which case it was not good times.
Yeah, that was early summer of 2016, not even 2017.
Didn't even make it to summer. That got patched out in May.
Well, my definition of summer might be a little different than most people.
Yes, that would be my spring. But so you've clearly, played with this deck a lot and tested it a bit. How much testing did you do for this event specifically? And how much does that compare to events that you normally play?
I didn't really test for this last weekend, to be honest. It's a deck that I've played on and off in ladder, and I'm on stream. Like I've been watching other people. I see a lot of a ton of that was being brought out. I figured the main mid-range would be Argenport, which is the best mid-range matchup. Things like Praxis are pretty difficult for it to deal with, and then you don't have the silver bullet of ICB. So it seems of the things that I was going to want to bring, the best situated and the most fun. So that was pretty much the whole impetus to bringing it.
So if this was the best positions of your options, what were your other options?
Things I was considering bringing. Combreak Control I've been playing on ladder.
Ouch.
It's better than you'd think. The new Icaria is nice for just getting through its rough early stage. Desert Marshal isn't seeing a ton of presence, but it's still fairly effective.
Yeah, no, the cards are still good, except then someone plays in Cold Blood on your Iron Thorn or Seraph, and you just want to...
Yeah, I don't actually run either of those, though. So that's okay.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Predatory Carnosaur, Last Stand at the Gate, and Sword of the Sky King would be the main win cons for the deck.
Last Stand at the Gate.
Yeah, that deck
very
just
good into Hoover Pacifier, as it turns out.
No, I can not.
Okay.
Yeah, what were the other? I've been playing with the new Cabal Slasher. Is a lot of fun, and Cabal Slasher and Anointer of the Faithful in a Paladin package. pretty much every paladin has lifesteal, so they work with slasher.
Slasher costs 2 now, right? That was its buff?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So you get some brutal curves of slasher into extract through 3-drop and win the game, or slasher into stone powder alchemist and just start beating down.
Okay, I was just making
Or
it's
you have
slasher himself, not a paladin, by the way.
Yeah,
Just
no,
clarify.
it's not. But it fits with the shell, and you don't really have enough paladins to make a deck entirely around that anyways.
Yes.
It was a bit of surprising tribal support. Inquisitor's Blade is another amazing card for any justice-based beatdown plan.
Mm-hmm.
And then
It's
you get to run
Elder's Feather without the card disadvantage.
Yeah, yeah. I do like Elder's Feather though. I was just looking for more flying equipment really to play. Sorry, weapons.
Elder's Feather better when it pushed 3/3s out of torch range.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, Bright Mace Paladin is surprisingly not terrible. Sometimes you just need the 3/3 for 3, and when it combos with Anointer, it's real good.
Yeah, Bright
And of
Mace
course,
Paladin was a
Comrade
Recano
Paladin.
card back in the day.
Yeah, so those are kind of the decks that I play. If you're wondering what the spectrum of what I'd consider. I was a little sad. I've had a couple decks that have gotten nerfed out. I played a lot of Skycrag and Praxis with Soulfire Drake. That I had one of my better showings of last season at ETS was with Praxis. I don't really know what to call it. I called it Warp Drive. It was like Heart of the Vault, Soulfire Drake, Shogun of the Wastes, and really early game.
Seeing that.
Yeah. And I didn't end up having another chance to bring that to an ECS with the Soulfire Drake nerf. It was pretty important for the deck.
Pretty important for a lot of decks. Don't see a lot of Charge Rod running around.
Yeah, I'm not too broken up about that. I despise Charge Rod, so it's frustrating.
I can agree with that sentiment.
I had one game in ETS against Charge Rod where he played a Caleb for 2 rods.
Yeah, and Caleb got rods for himself. It's the only single card OTK.
Yeah, it was depressing.
Technically means to an end as a single card OTK. You just need to draw a lot of cards. But
not a meme I've played.
Yeah, we'll have to bring on Overmaster for that one. So we've kind of covered some of the questions like your meta predictions and your most memorable match being that heartbreaker.
Yeah.
But let's jump back to the Invitational because I know everybody's asking us, 2/3 drop. Who is this guy? You were an Invitational tiebreak player. So you were at the event. Tell us a little bit about the deck that you had lined up for that tournament.
Yeah, so I played Feln mid-range. About a week before, I was browsing Discord. People were chatting shit about Feln, so I decided I'd play it for my tiebreaker spot. I really like the right. I see you're starting to understand my mentality. I really like Daraka. I think the card is a lot of fun to play with, and I've been trying to make Shadowlands Tyrant work as well. I think that you'd be surprised, actually. It goes fairly well. Things like Mirror Image and Dark Return are always going to be good as a support package for Champion of Cunning anyways.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can get going pretty well with the Tyrant. You have a ton of cards that are wearing down the removal with Impending Doom and Rindra in your 4 slots. And then you have Hailstorm, so you don't really need to be playing too much in the early game. The deck has a few options right now, like the new Aegis 2-drop, or 2-drop that benefits from Aegis, Ward Wielder, I believe. Yeah, so you can go for an early game. I think there's a few different ways to play Fel right now, but the one I decided on was fairly top-end heavy, and was just trying to jam threats from in the 4 to 6 slots. Oh no, the one I brought to the Invitational was heavier on the 3s. Actually, I played Midnight Gale and Blood Knight Aevasaur. The Aevasaur impressed me more than I thought it would. I would consider it actually better than Midnight Gale because you can cast it ever on turn 3. And
Feln's power base is better than it was, but yeah,
that is true. But
double is tough.
Dark Return is nice with the Fate trigger. You can get some more damage in that way.
Yeah.
The Aevasaur did a lot of work. I was impressed by that card.
Interesting. I mean, we've heard some people talking about the idea of using it in Fel mid range, and I'm glad to hear that you had such a positive experience with it.
Yeah, I play a lot of primal base mid range or aggro, mostly because of mirror image and some of the other supporting spells. I played with accelerated Evo a lot, which is the one time I've top eighted, or the first top eight that I've had was on the
With
Elysian Dinos.
Yeah,
Elysian Dinos.
Yeah, accelerated evolution did a lot of work in that deck, and it's something I'm hoping to go back to. I haven't been loving the Dino support that came with set 3. I had one absolute dumpster fire of a deck that I played on stream for a while was Clutch Keeper, Shepherd's Horn, and Mask of Torment all together, which
Okay.
got a win or
All
two,
right.
but not really worth the hours it took to get those wins. Sometimes you get to bond out Clutch Keeper, kill or something, play 2 Overwhelm units, trigger your Horn, and get massive lifesteal or life force triggers.
Mm-hmm.
But the other times you just lose, so it's not really worth playing.
I mean, it's better now. Clutch Keeper only costs 15. Yeah.
14.
Oh, it wasn't 15 to 14?
It was 15 to 14.
Okay,
This
I
was
thought it
after
was 16 to 15.
No, just Novaquake on 16, I think.
Yeah, just Novaquake.
Yeah. Not a bad card. Totally uncastable, but not a bad card.
Yeah.
So
Not castable without some very interesting things going on at any rate.
okay,
Yeah.
so we started out with this Felon mid-range, and we ran into eventually top 4 player Magikarp, which spoils the storyline a little bit, but he was on Praxis mid-range. Not
Yeah.
a great matchup.
No, I have a very recurring theme in my deck building where
Mhm.
they end up being fairly good against aggro and fairly good against control. And then I plow straight into a mid-range matchup and just get dumped on. I think that's happened to me quite a few times. I know my last match on Saturday was against Praxis mid-range as well.
Mhm.
Duraka doesn't do a whole lot when it just gets like Sandstorm Titan ignores it when it comes down and then it gets killed. You feel really sad.
Mhm.
Carnosaur eats Champion of Cunning. Pretty much all my threats actually get eaten by Carnosaur. It was just sad. If my Duraka got removed, the matchup is basically over, and my Duraka got removed. So I wasn't. That was a bit of a miscalculation from me not expecting the Praxis mid range, but
Mhm.
that's also what I get for only being in tiebreakers instead of the tournament proper, not having a chance to see some other matchups to move forward.
So you think you're gonna push a little harder this season and go for the actual invites?
There's no harm in bringing a memes a few times. I guess I've got one.
It really is only your best 4 of 8 tournaments after all.
Yeah, exactly. I did it last season. I brought that was the wonderful round 1 stream showcase on Last Light Druid when I played Sunken Druid Heart.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
that was definitely the worst deck I brought to an ETS, but it was a lot of fun.
And yet it didn't go 06.
That is true. I took a game off that match and then went 0-3 in matches and dropped. But it wasn't as bad as Catcher Cauldron, I don't think.
So the only card in my estimate, well, okay, that's not true. The only card that approaches being as unplayable as Felon Cauldron is Calderon Cradle, which does nothing when you play it.
I
Does nothing
actually
for 4 spells and then gets vanquished.
I don't even think Cradle's on the same level as Cauldron. Like Cauldron is so bad. You're
Yes.
actively making your hand worse to do nothing. It's really hard to get to that point. At least Cradle you can plan and build around.
Mhm.
Cauldron, the payoff is completely random. And I've had games where the payoff has been phenomenal and it's won on the spot. But sometimes you get like Ruin and Water of Life. And you're sitting there. Why did I pitch 5 cards to not actually have game impact?
So that way you can pitch them to your next Felon Cauldron. And then...
Yeah. But usually you pitch the second Cauldron to the first Cauldron, so at that point you don't even have anything going on.
Here's my argument for why Cradle is just as bad, by the way.
Okay.
In a Cradle deck, you have to draw your Cradle to have your win conditions. In a Cauldron deck, your deck is better if they're the bottom 4 cards.
That's fair. I can see that.
Yeah, in the Cradle deck, your win rate goes down if you draw it, whereas your Cauldron deck win rate goes up if you don't.
Well, yeah, no, that's a
Yeah.
good point. I can't argue with that. I'm sure there's other cards that are just as bad out there. Oh, the new 8-drop relic, the Encroaching Darkness.
Yes, Encroaching Darkness.
It has the nicest visual, the laser beam, and it does 1 damage per turn.
So
Premium Encroaching Darkness is so good.
It does win you the game if your opponent is also playing Cradle and can't. What happens if both players have Encroaching Darkness? Does just nobody take damage from Night?
No, you actually both take 1 damage every other turn. It's like Night normal.
2.
So you both wasted 8 power.
No. You take 1 damage, not 2.
But doesn't it say Nightfall deals 1 more damage?
No, it says your opponent takes yours.
Miras's relic.
Man,
Mythophobia. Yeah.
I don't know I did not study up for this. I do not know my meme relics.
No, I have played Encroaching Darkness with in a Manacles control list that was not too bad on ladder. A lot of people aren't prepared for Solitude with Manacles out, and they just get blown up by it. Encroaching Darkness didn't really deserve to be in there. Last Word is just a better relic at that point in Shadow.
So it's the Mirror's Nightshades relic is Nyctophobia is the one that makes it deal 1 more damage. So all this does is ping them for 1.
Yes.
That's all this does.
It also stops Night from ending, and it looks really cool. Like if you've seen it, your opinion of it would be that much higher. It's probably one of the best visuals in the game.
Yeah.
But it just
Encroaching Darkness is like top 5.
Yeah. It just pings them for 1 though.
Okay, but what happens if somebody plays Purge the Darkness? Does the darkness get purged?
No.
I've never
personally tested this.
Darkness.
And it does not get purged. So the encroaching is stronger than the purge?
I guess it says Night never ends, so
the 8 mana relic beats out the 3-cost spell. 3?
The detonate that's rare now?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's something I'm happy I didn't pull for the
Purge the Darkness is a 3 fire. Yep.
So I should have switched into this way earlier, but when I hear Encroaching Darkness, all I think is Darkness the player asking for an interview.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, like Encroaching Darkness will never get played, that will never happen.
Yeah.
Sorry, buddy.
You just learn. All you need to do is say you had 100% win rate against Argenport mid-range, and then you get an interview. We solved that one, I guess.
So we're just forestalling. We don't want to talk about Chalice. We don't want to talk about Argenport. We want to talk about next level decks. We didn't put the deck list up, so there's still hope that it could be a real deck list.
I will say I played maybe 5 or 10 games with that list in casual, and it's fun when it goes off. If you throw a 7 damage overwhelm torch at a thing, you feel like you've done something truly unique and crazy. It doesn't happen very often though.
Yeah, I enjoy playing decks like that. I feel it builds community. People get talking about it. This was the most I've had people talk about it, like just my opponents at an ETS, saying things after about the deck. I think there's something to be said for taking some tournaments to put those ideas out there. So something I really enjoy.
Every deck starts somewhere, right? Finkel 4F, possibly the most dominant control deck we've ever had, started out as horrific Omen for Gift JPS control decks that were Harsh Rule, Gift, and a million unplayable cards. Battery started out with Curiox in his lists. They got tuned up. Charge Rod was a meme, FTP Plate was a meme, so...
One could argue that Charge Rod never stopped being a meme, but...
Charge Rod got nerfed before it could not be a meme, but people played it, yeah. But, this is the start, and that's why we put your deck up on stream. Except we didn't put it up on stream, so none of that's gonna happen. I'm sorry. Yeah, so...
Yeah, it's definitely an archetype I'll be trying out more as we get more cards to interact with spell damage. If only we had some sort of relic that did it in any efficient manner, that would be great. Sadly, all we have is Maelstrom Bell.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not really getting the job done.
Nah.
So
Sorry.
I'm still stuck on this. Like, what mana cost do you have to make this encroaching darkness to make it playable? Like 1?
Ooh, I think it'd be playable at
2?
5?
3? 3?
No, 5.
Well,
It wouldn't be playable at 5. No way.
It
You really don't
is
think so?
the extra draw every single turn. If your deck at that point in the game has so many more hits than your
It's a
opponent,
Howling Mine that pings them for 2 a turn cycle.
it does win eventually. It's got that sweet synergy with
Well,
mana
to be
cost 'cause
fair, Howling
drawing from the night.
Mine is probably a pretty strong card, even in Eternal, where
Yeah.
it's not at its where the idea of using it in a combo deck isn't quite as powerful. But
I think honestly the most annoying thing for me is you see that it's always going to be night, and you want to throw in all these other nightfall cards or cards that synergize from nighttime, except they now
Like-
have a lot of text that isn't relevant anymore.
Yeah.
You get Anna synergy in that way.
mhm,
When
yeah,
I've been playing Darkness, it's just been on its own. Though I would.
I'm not sure if that makes it better or worse. Okay.
No, isn't. At least it's not dangerous bargain. I think that's the most I can say for it.
yeah,
In terms of
Bad
our
Touch of the
large shadow
Umbran.
payoffs.
Yeah,
We're just missing the night payoffs. Wait for set 5.
yes.
That's or set 4. That's where the real night payoffs were. Right now, Rindra gets lifesteal, and that's about it.
And Overwhelm.
He's
Hey,
usually also flying in Chargy. It's the
This is true.
lifesteal that's the real.
This is true.
It's the real reason you're playing him. But I think that covers more than my scheduled questions. I don't know. I know Rex said he had a few.
We've kind of covered them along the way.
Yeah.
Enough meme discussion. We've got that covered.
Yeah, exactly.
I can scroll through my deck list or my various
Ooh.
decks if you want anything else to talk about. I'm sure I can find some.
All right. So why don't you leave us off with what you think is going to be the deck to beat next week? And I don't mean Argenport midrange. I mean the deck that beats Argenport midrange. What are we supposed to be doing?
I thought the deck that beat
as
Argenport
much-
midrange was Argenport midrange.
Well, that was
As much as I
yeah.
hate to say it, I think like people are just gonna have greedier and greedier decks that are shockingly good given the addition of Hailstorm and Equivocate and other early game powerhouse interaction spells.
Mhm.
Things like Chalice and Moment are just going to be starting an arms race for what we're going to be seeing. I don't have an answer. I don't know what I want to go against things like that. Maybe it's some ultra low ground Aegis based aggro. I could see being fairly effective.
Something like
standing under
Outrack's
at
list
the-
from the end of last season.
Sorry?
Something like Outrack's list from the end of last season, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. Was that Comgrade?
No, Hero aggro.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Huru
You need
aggro
to
was
remember,
actually...
not everybody watches or runs this show, so they don't know all the lists.
Sorry.
Huru was really good. That's what my best placement last season. I ended up getting to top 50 in ranked with Huru Flyers, playing unstable form with Shelter Wing Rider. I found really effective. I didn't play Protect because Protect felt really garbage at 2 and was just never doing the right things. But unstable form was either resetting a Shelter Wing Rider, killing a Sandstorm Titan effectively because you don't care as soon as it's not a Titan, or getting another flyer out of the sky, and it has Echo. The card felt amazing in Huru. And then you have obviously the Pacifier, which is a bonkers card. The only sad thing is you can't run the normal weapon support.
Mhm.
But then you get to run augmented form instead of weapons and sometimes kill people with that. Though that's a little hedging towards the meme side of it. I think Valkyries.
Just a little.
Yeah, I think Valkyries in Huru fit fairly well. There's enough payoffs that they get the job done. With
You get Protect back and roll once intervention.
well, not that much of a focus on it. I was running just 3 Spire Guards and the 2-drop Icaria. Having 8 Endurance 2 drops is really nice for Nostrix as well.
No Amilies?
I had a Millies, but I'm just thinking of specific synergy
Okay.
cards. And obviously Vulcan Forcers are in there.
Mm-hmm.
And Mirror Image always counts as a synergy card.
Yeah.
In
Yes.
my opinion. Helps Spire Guard at least.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think there's going to be answers to the greed piles that aren't just greedier piles. It'll be finding out what those are. Moment is extremely scary. Maybe we see some more decks more focused on control. Island's Choice is a fairly clean answer to Moment of Creation as well as Harsh Rule, so that Huru does seem like a deck that could get the job done. But
Okay.
it Chalice feels like the boogeyman to me right now.
Hmm.
You want to I like going for sort of gimmicky interactions in terms of getting around the greed piles, where if you hit that synergy, then you go off and you just explode on them, and then you run into Chalice and they silence everything before killing it, and you feel really bad about the deck that you chose. So there's kind of going to be things that are good against Moment and things that are good against Chalice, and I'm not sure what's going to be good against both of them.
So flyers have historically been pretty good against Chalice, so maybe that Huru list that you talked about before could be pretty good there. Maybe people will play Argenport Volks again. That was always fun to see.
Yeah, I do think the Battlefield Scrounger is a little underrated. Having a
Hmm.
2-drop that recurs a Valkyrie later is a really powerful effect, especially with things like Emily that have the permanent changes after they've gotten a few swings in.
Mhm.
That card has done a lot of work when I played Argenport Valks. Inquisitor's Halberd is a lot less important in the meta now that Hailstorm exists. It was really successful when people were running a lot of Recano on ladder, and you would just kill the Whirling Duo and still have a relic weapon up on turn 3.
Yeah, not
But
so useful
yeah,
against the field right now.
exactly. Now that we're not seeing that kind of stuff, the card really falls off, and that's one of the major draws to Argenport, in my opinion. You
Hmm.
still get Macdo, and Macdo is Macdo, as long as you have a way of getting around Permafrost.
Slay and stuff, yeah.
Hmm.
But I've got two questions. One from the chat, one from myself. But I'll start with the one from myself.
Okay.
This is the Ilya question. When you
Oh.
saw Millie, did you know that that was a dude, or did you think that that was a female Valkyrie for the first time?
I
For the first
I
time.
saw the name Amelie and thought it was a female Valkyrie.
Hmm.
There you go.
The other large Valkyries we've had in Justice have been female as well, like Roland's Honor Guard and Nakaria herself. So I
Hmm.
thought they were sticking to that theme. I guess we do have Elias, but nobody remembers Elias.
The
There's
broken
Valkyrie linebacker.
Oh,
line breaker.
Linebacker.
is that the mentor one?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
5/6 for 8 that you gain armor. I'm told that our producer has just learned that Amelie is not female, despite seeing it in play many times on stream.
Yeah,
Well, we don't have the voices on for the. He doesn't have voices on personally, so.
All right.
you get informed pretty quickly when you hear that nice deep onward to glory.
Yeah. They've been changing a lot of the voice lines to be deeper. In the previous patches, we lost our draw, Mister, and similar.
Yeah, my poor oh, the 1-drop Justice card, the Empower one. I don't like its new voice.
Oh,
It sounded
Discomfort.
yeah, that one. It had like a nice RoboCop vibe before, and now it just sounds like a normal guy. So that was disappointing.
I don't know why they changed Jumblescriber Macdo. Like I know they brought in Macdo's voice actor and like re-recorded everything, but Run Cowards was so satisfying.
Yeah, it was so easy to picture the card. Everybody knew it.
Yeah,
To change something that had already become like a meme in the community is weird to me.
yeah. Wow. So was the Pink Elephant, and they cut that one down pretty hard.
That is a
That was
horrible throwback.
I was going through our retrospectives article today, but the question from the chat was this Mauler list. Did you try it with any other sets of factions? You know, it's a Stone Scar base, so did you try it with Time or with Justice or something?
No, I just went with this one. I think you want Skycrag. The draw to the deck to me is Iceberg Warchief. Feln is there because you want spells that normally have lifesteal. They get the most benefit out of the spell amp. I don't think you could really run it outside of Feln Scar and have the same result. Like if you're going to run a Mauler's list with spell amp cards, this is the faction pairing for it. you should be playing other control variants if you want to go into other colors. There's certainly a lot of control that you can play with, like Primal Shadow plus anything else, but none of them are going to be Mauler's decks. Yeah, I don't see a big reason for. Maybe Excavate would be pretty much it. Getting a key spell back could be a big deal in certain games, but at that point, you should just be excavating harsh rules, I would think.
Yeah,
I think the War Chief is pretty irreplaceable as far as the archetype goes.
Okay. All right, so there you have it, Hulk. Stick with Velnscar is the suggestion. But we have reached the end of our interview time. So thank you very much, Clamburglar, for coming out and telling us a little bit about the other side of things. I know a lot of the people that watch this show are very much, if not outright net deckers, they're very much on the more competitive side, so they don't hear so much about some of the rogue decks that are going around. And
yeah, I think it's a good discussion to have. I think a big part, honestly, I don't stick with my decks a lot. There's a good percentage of them that I'm sure would be better if I spent more time grinding them out, and if there were other people playing them as well. There's no, I'm one person. I'm never going to see everything that 10 people would see. So there's a lot of decks out there that I think have room for improvement and have the ability to head to one tournament and put in a strong showing. There's certainly more than just Chalice, Moment, and AP Mid floating around right now. So it would be cool to see a little more focus on building up these fringe decks, but I can't. In a tournament setting, it's not fair to expect people to play anything but the proven decks. So I'll keep holding that torch and seeing what I can come up with.
Okay. Well, on that note, we are going to pass on from the interview and move on to our outro. So thank you very much, Clamburglar, for joining us, and good luck next weekend.
Indeed, thank you.
Okay.
All right. So with that, we only have a couple of quick things to mention before we come to a close for the show. We have our standard plugs for the Kylari's Tuesday tournament. He runs a tournament for both NA and EU times. The EU one starts, I believe, like 8 o'clock GMT, but don't quote me on that one. Check it out tomorrow afternoon.
We're going to want to transition the slides at some point, Miller.
And then, of course, the NA one happens, I believe, at 8:30 Eastern time. Ace was streaming that last week. He'll probably stream it again this week. Then the TJP Casual Friday tournament happens early afternoon Eastern time. And then, of course, next Saturday will be the next ETS Weekly Open at our standard time with a registration deadline of 10 a.m. Eastern and noon Eastern for when the event starts. And of course, for more detailed information for all of these, you can see the tournament info channel on the Eternal Discord. And of course, if you have any more questions for us, you can get in contact with us by messaging us on the Eternal Discord or messaging RNGee on Twitter.
No, we're just asking us now. We're hanging about, so
Indeed.
We're happy to answer any questions you may have. Is this what I'm looking for? This is what I'm looking for. All right. So we're actually trying out a new series for the end of Best of Three. It's often been mentioned that we talk a lot about Best of Threes, but there are no actual Best of Threes on the show. So in the same vein that Ace is doing, we're going to be doing viewer submitted decks, and then the casting team is going to play off against them. We're going to have Miller subbing in tonight, but we're going to be playing just a little bit of a fun best of three for some internal dominance and just to try things out and see what people think of the new segment. Showing off some of the highest level gameplay that you can get, as long as you're still in a Clamburglar mood and we're straight memeing. But
with that, I will be taking my leave for the night. But good luck to both RNG and Miller, and
Thank you.
hopefully fun.
Thanks very much. Hi, stream. All right. So I just wait a minute. Oh no. Oh no. RNG rec left, so now I have to fix the titles. We're just gonna do it live. Hang on a second. Stand by.
I'll cancel the challenge.
Okay.
It's fine.
Cool.
I'll give you a few more minutes of peace before we destroy you.
Wait a minute. Why is it? It's huge. There. That's better. That's better. Okay. I don't normally do this on stream. I'm normally behind the scenes doing all this stuff. Okay. Fade. Boom. Did it. Okay, before we get started, I have to show off. I got an Icaria and my sealed league, and a field captain.
So you got to play it, right? You're contractually obliged with your RNGEternal contract to play any and all Icaria related.
I don't even know what the rest of my pool is, but yes. Wait a second. By the way, test. Yeah. All right. What's going on? I lost my chat window. Producer things while live on stream.
Miller's fantastic as long as he's not talking. Then
yeah. That's why I'm not talking in best of 3 today. I'm playing. And by the way, are you ready? Here we go.
Do you want my screen too?
Oh wait, how am I gonna do? No. Okay. I just minimize it, man. Wait, let's see. Stop sharing screen. Okay. All right, there we go.
All right. Oh, that gets rid of my face cam.
Son of a! Does it really?
No. If I share my screen, it goes over top. This is our first time doing it. We're doing it live. This hand is amazing.
Okay. There we go.
Keeping. So, you guys are only gonna get Miller's perspective, but you're gonna get my thing. We are.
Are we good? Yeah, we're good. All right, I'm gonna. Damn. I want to keep this in. I'll keep it.
Oh, 61 people just dropped in from Sir Rhino. Hello. You're catching the tail end of our highly serious best of 3 talk show broadcast, where we're just kicking it off with some fun dumb decks.
I'll have you know this is not a dumb deck.
For best of 3, I didn't build a sideboard for this deck. Because I played this back in August, I think, when I was doing my streaming career to play to master. It was very popular at the time. But I know what you're on, so I can just discard this Permafrost.
Cheating. I'm turning on game volume because it's crazy. All right, I saved this just for this because I don't even know what you're up to. But
winning.
Okay. What do I want to do? This is an important decision.
Winds protect me.
We're both just having a nice control mirror here. Nothing to be afraid of. Nothing to be suspicious of.
I'm gonna scry. Sure. Okay.
There's absolutely no combo potential for this deck.
What are you doing? I don't like it. I don't like it a lot. I really don't like it.
No reason to be suspicious.
Well, let's see what's coming up next. Wait, yeah, what's on top here? Okay, you're going to the bottom, and you're losing an Aegis. Do you want to cast Island's Choice again? Favor. Let's see. No, you want to cast.
I mean, I know what I want to cast. All right, so you just used a Hailstorm. So the question is, do you have 2? And I read you as no.
No. That's really bad. That's even worse.
Some people would say that this is going a little bit all in on Yetis, but no,
Wow.
this is
Chat,
correct.
Chat knows that I misplayed real bad. Okay, go. Don't give me away, chat. Just let him draw his freaking cards. Oh my god! I'm gonna win. You're just gonna draw your deck. I'm gonna win that way. That's fine. This plays right into my hand.
Yeah, you got me.
How many cards? You were able to draw that many cards? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah. I mean,
And you get to do damage. All right. Do I even survive?
That's a good question. I didn't count this. I thought for sure he's got an active spell.
Nope.
No.
No. Wait. I'm gonna search for find the way.
Celestial Omen for what's it called? Mistveil Drake right at the end.
Wow. Well, this is gonna go quick. Let's see. Where's my score?
Time for the live sideboarding strats.
Yeah, I don't have a sideboard.
I mean, just swap out 15 cards and you're good. I haven't cut all my removal. Who needs that?
No way. Going. Oh wait, let me update the score.
Or are we just running it back? It's just a best of 3 of first thing decks. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't prepare a deck for this because it was a last minute thing.
Yes. This was a little last minute.
We would do 2 best of 3s, since Temporal's awful against most things.
I mean, there's no way. I've got all this removal in my deck. That's probably live against you, right? You definitely play units.
I've got some.
I don't believe you.
I do.
I think you have 3 Desert Marshals.
Those are units.
Are they? Are they? I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
See, if you just watch ladder, you'd never get to see whatever the hell this matchup is.
Yeah.
And you might be the better for it.
People get to see me play this on ladder. And the ones that I win, it's just awful for them.
The opponents, you mean?
Yeah.
Not the fans, I hope.
Yeah, well, we got hosted, Hulk. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. We try to be serious. There's, some analysis. Everybody should be watching this show. Nobody wants a piece of it. We start playing scouting parties and wumps, and everybody wants a piece of the action. Or maybe Rhino finished streaming.
Yes.
One of the 2. I know a lot of people were planning on streaming some pretty serious Sealed League action and got a little bit delayed there.
Yeah.
You played Lightning Storm and Hailstorm?
I played a lot of storms. I like the mechanic.
This is a pre-boarded deck. This is not fair.
No. I run 6 storms. And a bunch of these guys.
Alright. There's no way he can clear this. There's no way he has anything in his hand that can deal with a 2/2.
For sure not. Let's see what's up top. Nope.
Do I lose if he starts chaining? Oh my god, that's a commitment. Alright.
Maybe you've got a bad hand. Oh, alright. You don't have a bad hand. Okay, whatever. I got plenty of these.
Militool, at the time of his retirement for production, was one of our more successful ETS players.
With Ricano played, for sure. I was okay.
Yeah.
Ah! Should have held that first heart rule. That's fine, I just draw another one. Okay. This is gonna be fine. Probably. Maybe. Potentially potentially bad. Could be awful.
I'm okay with the events that are currently occurring.
What do I get against? What?
You don't play counter spells, right? There's no way.
I don't know.
Nobody plays counter spells.
Ah, why do you get to cast that? What am I, okay.
Let's just get in a channel battle. It sounds fun.
So I'm gonna omens for something. I don't really know what I want to get.
Omens for Lightning Storm, man. Wait, if you had Omen, why'd you let me draw 4? Why didn't you just Omen for Lightning Storm?
No. I drew Omen. Wait. I don't remember. I couldn't.
Did you draw it off the Wisdom?
Yes.
Okay. Because otherwise there wasn't a lot of Wisdom being used.
Let's see. Just do this.
You don't play any units,
I don't think
right?
you need that.
No.
I honestly don't think you need that. Okay, this is how I went.
Is it?
Maybe.
Is it? I'm not sure that's true.
This is how I win. I get rid of all of these lands, powers, sigils.
So, like, I buy it if you played temporal before you did that, but I'm not sure you're gonna be able to outrace it all that well. Maybe if he slams temporal this turn, you can do it. Is that lethal? 6, 7, yeah. Alright, so this sets up lethal. Oh. This does not set up partial or lethal. Also, I think I lost sound.
Sorry, I muted myself a second.
Oh. Alright. You stabilized. What's next?
Yeah, I stabilized. Let's see. I'm gonna do. Actually, I probably should. No, it doesn't matter.
Whoa.
Wait, what have I done?
Whoa.
No, I knew you had Aegis.
That was aggressive.
It's fine.
Okay. Is it fine?
Okay.
This has become a child-friendly stream. Alright, we gotta set it up correctly.
It ends.
All right. I'm back. Sort of.
Not for long.
Yeah. Oh no. No, this is not fair. Uh, yeah, yeah, buddy. I lost. That's what happened. My bad deck lost to his bad deck. Okay.
To my clearly superior deck.
Okay, this has got to end. Unfortunately, I have to
All
go
right.
put my kid to sleep.
So we're gonna call it there. But let us know what you think of our throw-in segment. Our producer Military was enthusiastic about this one. So thanks to everybody who came out. Thanks to Rhino for hosting us. We hope you guys had an enjoyable time with our a little less serious best of 3. We'll be back next week. I think an hour later, 9 p.m. EST on Monday nights. I think this is going to be our new time going forwards. But check all the stuff for that. So we will see you guys next week or on Saturday for the ETS. See you then.